Operations Committee agenda meeting today. I believe we have a quorum. Is that correct, Ms. Secretary? Very good. So I won't even call the roll. Count? Yes. Oh, can we call a roll?
Mr. Martinez?
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez-Pena? Mr. Gonzalez? Mr. Meyer? Present. Mr. Pago?
Here.
Mr. Vasquez?
Present.
Chair Gutierrez? Vice Chair Ferre?
Very good. Council, if we may begin the agenda.
Do any members of the boards have any conflicts they want to report? Seeing none, we move forward.
If Mr. Gonzalez arrives, Council, I believe he's already indicated a conflict on one of the items, so you can remind me that we need to ask him that again. We have his form, and can we put that into the record and ensure that that's part of the record that he's already informed us of his conflict? Thank you. Item number 3, any public comments today? Staff, has anyone indicated that they wish to speak to the committee? Hearing none, I will close the public comment section of the agenda. Section 4, operation action items. Council, if you would please. Sure, letter A.
Approval of summary minutes, Operations Committee meeting of April 21st, 2015.
Has everyone on the committee reviewed the minutes and someone wish to move them into, moved by Vice Chair Mr. Rodriguez-Pena? Anyone wish to second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Meyer. Any discussion? Any amendments or changes? Hearing none, discussion is closed. Anyone in opposition to entering the items in to and approving them? Hearing none, items approved unanimously. Letter C of the action of the item B. Excuse me.
Item B. Mr. Gonzalez, Chair, Member Gonzalez has come in. Do you want to address him about?
Yes, Mr. Gonzalez, I think you indicate that you have a conflict on one of the items today. If you could put on the record which one it is. Very good.
Mr. Cancio. Mr. Cancio. Your seat.
I'd like for the record to welcome board member Jose Pepe Cancio to our committee meeting today. Thank you very much for attending. And any of your input would be greatly appreciated by the committee, Mr. Cancio. Item C.
B.
We didn't do B again?
MDX.
Item B again.
MDX fiscal year 2016
Not enough coffee.
through 2020 5-year work program, transportation improvement, capital improvement, and renewal and replacement program, $706.8 million. Endorsement to board, endorsement of resolution 15-16.
And who is doing the presentation for staff?
Mr. Chairman, as is customary every year, we update our work program. This year, we are adding a new 5th year, the fiscal. Can you guys hear me?
No. Here, mine is working.
Hello? Now you can hear me. As is customary every year, we endorse our work program. We add a new 5th year. The new 5th year is fiscal year 2020, and I've asked Juan Toledo to give us a presentation of any additions, modifications to the work program. And after that, there is a resolution that we will need for endorsement to the board.
Good morning, committee members. Before you is the little presentation, a few slides just to go over real quickly. The 2016-2020 work program, the objectives this year is to deliver on the commitments made, continue to provide safety and system preservation projects and mobility projects. We've gone through the process of updating all of our cost estimates per the latest pricing information. We've updated all of our schedule forecasts, project scopes, milestones, and updated all the O&M projections for the anticipated projects' opening dates. And all these projects have been coordinated with the MPO. As you can see, the 5-year work program is $706.8 million, with the majority of the funding going through to construction and design build. Delivering on commitments, we're continuing to look into and deliver on our safety projects. One of the inclusions or new projects that we're going to be looking at is installation of wrong way, do not enter signs at ramps. We're seeing this as a reoccurring issue on our system, and we want to be able to prevent this. Other system miscellaneous improvements. We've already done the solar-powered pavement markers along the system, and those have been received very well. We've already started the installation of the higher reflectivity pavement marking. That's also been included in all of our projects. And we're also now looking at system preservation, the life cycle of all of our pavement, painting, the structures, and all the other assets on the system. Continuing on delivering on our commitments, we have the major projects that we've committed to deliver to this community. The 83611, 836 I-95 interchange improvements, we're continuing to coordinate with DOT to bring forward that JPA, hopefully sometime in the June-August timeframe. The 83628 project, the 836 operational capacity and interchange improvements between 57th and 17th, that project has already received notice to proceed. The design-build team has already begun their designs. We've received their 30% master plans and are reviewing that. We anticipate that construction will break ground sometime in the fall, and they are on schedule. The 83629, which is the 836 interchange modification improvements, that project is on the agenda today for approval to advertise, as well as some agreements with the county for right-of-way easements. That project is scheduled to hopefully advertise sometime in June, and we anticipate a notice to proceed in the fall. The 87410 project, which is the 874 ramp connector to Southwest 128th Street, that project has also, the contract has been executed. We're coordinating with the design-build team to issue a notice to proceed, hopefully sometime in June, and we will begin that project right away with design and construction. And finally, the 92404, which is the 924 West extension to the Heft, that's a final design project that it's already in the procurement office. We're anticipating a June advertisement on that, and that design should start in the fall or early winter. The program breakdown, as you can see, is the Transportation Improvement Project, the R&R, and the Capital Improvement Project for a total of $706.8 million. You see here how the funding is distributed over the next 5 years and through the different programs. This slide shows the budget drawdown per category and per fiscal year. The majority of the monies, you can see that we've already previously spent $550 million. The projected expenditures in 2015 are $125 million. You see that the majority of those expenditures over the next 5 years is as we put out these 5 major projects and we start delivering these improvements, what we're showing is that all these monies will be spent within the next 5 years. We'll have all these projects completed by 2021 or 2022. And with that, there's another item. Along with the approval to endorse the work program, staff is also requesting endorsement of a resolution that affirms that the improvements completed as a result of the projects contained in the 5-year work program are or will become a part of the MDX system in accordance with the trust indenture. I have 20 questions.
I will open the dais for questions from the committee and from other board members. Does anyone wish to begin? Mr. Meyer, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just a quick question regarding the HNTB document that's in our agenda. The first bullet, project cost estimates to include the latest pricing information. Does this also include expected cost escalations over the next 5 years?
Yes, it does. All of our projects are escalated to the build year or until we advertise and get the projects in, and then we bring those into actual. So all of the projects do have escalation included in them.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Meyer?
No, thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Rodriguez-Pina, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Zale, are we doing this in conjunction with any other agency, any other funding or this is solely our responsibility and the revenue that will be used for this will be exclusively ours, or we do this in conjunction with DOT, any portions of these, any participation from any other agency?
Right now, the only project in the program that does have state funding is the 83611, with the I-395, I-95 improvements. We are going to be getting a $35 million contribution that's spread out over the term of the project and in the later years, but that money is being contributed by DOT to MDX.
No county or other state revenue?
No other funding except for that.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Consencio.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a comment. 87th Avenue and 12th Street today, before we make, the ramp, it's amazing. I don't know if we have any person from the Miami-Dade County traffic control, because, the 87 and 12 eastbound is a mess, the traffic light over there. Because, I take that, almost every day from Dorado, and they are not coordinating, the traffic light. And it's very simple and don't cost any money to don't have the people, waiting for at least half a mile to get, to 837 and make a right turn and to get, east in the 836. I think that we have to talk with the people from Miami-Dade County, with the mayor, or with some people in traffic control, because I think that we are able to do so many simple things that don't cost anything to us and going to improve, the traffic in Miami-Dade County.
Well, that's certainly something that we can have staff. Oh, Mr. Toledo, you have information on that? That's great.
Yeah, just as a point of reference, item E on the agenda today is for the approval to advertise the 836-29 project. That is the 87th Avenue, 836 interchange improvements. It does include a reconstruction of the area on 87th Avenue and Northwest 12th, where all the concerns that Mr. Board Member Cancio has brought up will be addressed as part of that project.
But in the meantime, I think that the traffic light, they are able to be a little more friendly to the people who use that 12th Street, because it's a big mess. Sometimes you have the traffic, the railroad track, and they chain, and some of the traffic and the car they get in the middle, because it's a very simple. If we send someone from traffic control over there for 3 or 4 hours, they are able, to resolve that issue. The other thing, 12th Avenue, the exit from the westbound, getting to 12th Avenue.
Yes.
Sometimes you have half a mile. Sometimes, the traffic from 12th Avenue going north and south, too much time. And in the other, they don't give the time that we need it. It's something, it's a common sense.
Board Member Cancio, I hear you. I think this community hears you. I think traffic control and synchronization of our traffic signals is something that's been on the burner for many, many years, and we will convey that message again to traffic control.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. No.
I just wanted to say this will be also discussed at the budget workshop. The 5-year plan will be discussed, and it's consistent with what procedures were done. So anybody that has any additional comments, you do have an opportunity, even though we've consistently done it. The workshop is a place also to say if there's any policy decisions that need to be considered, the budget workshop will be the place, but it'll be consistent with what we do every year.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really want to address this to our chair and to our director. I've been struggling with the problem that Mr. Cancio has talked about since I was on the commission in 1993. I don't know how many years that is, but it's over 20 years, okay? When I ran for mayor in 2000, whatever it was, in the early 2000s, that was my campaign, traffic signals. And it seemed like a small little thing. Carlos Gutierrez, Carlos Alvarez took that issue on, and in the last 2 or 3 weeks, in all the debates, that's all he talked about. He said he was going to take care of it. Mayor, and I'm giving you this background because I have a specific point that I want to make. So I went to see Victor Bonzon, who was in charge of this whole thing, and I said, Victor, there's been a lawsuit with the Aleman company for 12 years that has been unsettled. The system was 37 years old, The computers running the system were 37 years old. They were totally obsolete, non-functional. The county spent, you were on the commission at that time, over $60 million to fix the system. The system that was put in was an off-the-shelf, obsolete system. You cannot change it automatically the way modern systems are done. So the synchronization process for the over 1,000 lights that are in Miami-Dade County are non-functional. Now, that affects the expressway system because we get blamed for traffic. I don't know where the logic is of that, but evidently since everybody says that since we increased the tolls, people don't want to take the toll roads, which is not true, because our toll usage is going up. But the problem is this. The problem is this. The problem is that the synchronization of getting on and off the expressway system that we're involved in affects the way our system works. And I think that I would like, and this may be a crazy idea, but I would like to explore the discussion with the county that they let us somehow get involved in those lights that are necessary to access the MDX expressway points. So those, obviously we cannot take over the whole system, nor am I suggesting that, nor can we in any way disrupt these things. But since those lights are not synchronized together, let them at least be synchronized to expedite people getting on and off the expressway system in those dozen places where, as you have just pointed out, were affected. But I think it shouldn't be just 87th and 12th. I think it should be the 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 or a dozen lights that are affecting our transportation system because of the ingress and egress of MDX.
Board Member Ferrer, and that's a great point. One of the items that we're going to be bringing to this board for consideration, and we're scheduling meetings with Director Yort and Director Hudak at the county, is what we're calling the Integrated Corridor Management System, ICM. And because we're going to have a lot of construction on 836 over the next 3 or 4 years, we believe, as other communities around the country have done, an integrated corridor management, which not only is the signal system, but it's the transit system, and it's how you do the intelligent transportation services on the expressway, all of it together could work. And I think that would be the showcase of this can actually work if somebody does it.
I didn't want to get into that because that's a much more complex subject, but I think Mr. Member Rodriguez Pina, the treasurer, will remember at an IBTTM meeting when we had, I forget the name of that German company, is it Schneider?
Yeah, Schneider and Caption.
And Caption, who are doing, no, it was Schneider who was doing the work for Dallas Fort Pierce.
Correct.
And then they came to Miami and they gave us some kind of a dog and pony. So if we could get into some kind of a management system where we get into corridor management like the Dallas-Fort Worth system, then we could take over those portion of those signals that would affect us. And I strongly recommend that you bring that up for discussion and that it go through, Madam Chair, through the proper committees for discussion and study and hopefully action. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrer. Thank you. Yes, Board Member Cancio.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I have been called traffic control several times, and I seen that the engineer, the name is Jairo Hernandez, and I have been told, hey, 74th Avenue, I used to work for many years. Sometimes, the traffic light is not working correct. He sent someone there, they fix it. In 12th Avenue and the ramp, they are able to fix it, sending a guy there, and they're able to fix it. In 27th Avenue, going south and northbound, when we have, the ramp going south. Sometimes it's the 7th Avenue, or the 7th Street, east and west. Sometimes they have too much time, and you don't have enough time in the 27th Avenue. It's a common sense, and they don't cost that much to them to send a technician for 3 or 4 hours, and they're able, to move that traffic light. Maybe we would like to have something synchronized, but that's going to take time, money. But the other effort, they have a bunch of people that are able to do that very simple. At least that is my humble opinion. Okay?
Well, we appreciate, yes, Chair Gutierrez.
Hi. I wanted to ask some questions regarding the overall program.
Thank you.
In the total amount of projects that we have in this work program, can you tell me how many have to do with partnerships? So it's a series of questions to get a better grasp on an oval. Yeah, my microphone is on. But maybe I was speaking low. Yeah, I'm relaxed today, that's why. So I wanted to get, it's a series of questions just to get an overview picture of what the work program consists of. How many projects in this work program are partnerships, that we're doing it not just alone, but that we're doing it with some other department or agency?
Is that funding related or any type of coordination?
Funding or any type of coordination?
I think right now, most of our projects have some coordination with another agency, either with the county or DOT, because of the way that we touch on all the systems. Directly, I would say that of the 5 major improvements, they all require coordination with DOT and the county, since they are providing improvements to adjacent arterials or roads. Starting with the 83628, where we're going to be doing numerous improvements to the interchanges at 57th, Lejeune, and 27th Avenue. That's going to be heavy, intensive coordination with DOT for the improvements that we're proposing at those areas. The 83629 is with the county. We're going to be widening Northwest 12th Street, 1 lane in each direction. We're going to be building a flyover ramp that connects straight on to 836 westbound. The coordination with Miami-Dade County there is going to be intensive, and it's going to be throughout the entire project. The 2 projects that we currently have, 87410 and 924, is going to have heavy coordination with the Turnpike, with the connections to the Turnpike at the Gratigny on the west side, and with the project that we're currently doing now to extend 874 to the west. Turnpike is building a portion of our project as part of their project, and now we're going to be connecting to that, so the coordination with all the agencies there. The 83611 project is not only going to be a coordination effort between DOT and MDX and the county and the city, but there's also a funding mechanism there where we're going to be funding the CI as part of their management of the contract. Our portion of the CI is going to be funded to DOT, but they're also providing funds for portions of the improvements that are DOT, where DOT is going to be benefiting from some of those improvements. So that coordination and that partnership is ongoing, it's taking place, and we're, knock on wood, successfully, we're moving it forward.
Is that the one that they're letting?
That is the one that they're letting, yes.
Okay. So the next question to that is, how many of these projects are new improvements or replacements? New improvements being one, and then replacements being something else.
If we look at the entire program, and you look at the replacement and renewal program, which is usually system preservation, the renewal and replacement program is a combination of new assets that are coming in as we replace, and some items are getting renewed. With the 40 projects that we have in the work program, I would say that more than half are going to have a lot of new work, including renewal and replacement, and the other 40% of it is renovation of the existing assets.
Okay, very good. And the last question to this item is, how many projects are in this work program that we do not have the construction funding?
The only project that we do not have construction funding, well, aside from the PD&Es.
I need you to that's precisely the question.
We have
that's exactly the question.
We have currently three PD&Es that are ongoing that are not funded for design or construction. The 92404, which is the extension to the west, is currently funded for design, and we do not have construction funding. Outside of those projects, everything else in the work program is funded.
There's one. So that you're saying one?
I'm saying 4 projects that are not funded for construction are contained within this work program.
Can you call them out, please?
Call them out.
It is the 83618, the 836 Southwest Extension, the 92407, which is the Gratigny extension to the east, the 92404, which is the Gratigny extension to the west, and we have another one.
We also have the Connect 4 within the
we have
work
the Connect
program.
4, which is in the project that hasn't been laid, but that's the other project, that's the Connect 4, which is the North-South Expressway.
Are any of these prioritized? Do we have priorities that if at any point monies are available that we would pull the trigger on? Or are these based on when will the PD&Es come online, meaning finished?
It's a combination of the two of what you're saying. Right now, it's where the phases are. 92404, the extension to the west, would be the first priority project since it'll be the first one that comes online as a full design. It'll be ready for construction once we complete the final design. As we complete the 92407, which is the extension, Gratigny extension to the east, and the 83618, those would have to go through our processes to determine whether they comply with the policies with our toll policy to be able to move them forward to the construction phase as to whether they can pay for themselves. And we're not at that stage yet.
Yeah, and Chair.
And the other two that you didn't mention.
And those haven't started
West
PD&E.
extension
Right.
Okay, and then one last question. With these, the magic word, I'm going to miss the magic word. These would be new movements.
Yes.
Okay.
And Ms. Gutierrez, they would require tolling, and we would have to comply.
That was the magic word that I was
and
missing.
we would,
I didn't want to say that word.
And we would be required to go through the analysis as prescribed by the
Can they
board
be
in
paid?
the toll policy about whether you can recoup the principal and interest within the first 5 years.
Right.
What toll rate would you set? And if it doesn't meet it, then we would take the second step. If it is still a priority, do we look for partners?
Okay.
To clarify that, because new movements you could put on an existing roadway, these are expansions of the existing system. All these projects would expand the existing MDX system.
No, I fully understand. Gratigny would now become sort of a real expressway connected to I-95. I fully understand. So thank you very much for the detail. You really know your job well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Vasquez.
Just a quick editorial on a comment that I've shared with our director, I've shared with Mario, and something that I plan to bring up for full board discussion. But this presentation, it's too good of an opportunity not to mention something today. These projects, these commitments, our delivery of money coming in and us putting it out into the community in the form of interchange improvements and safety programs is a classic example of the information that I would like to see this board, this agency, take a more proactive approach in the coming year when it comes to community information, when it comes to public relations. I would very much rather take the heat of spending public relations dollars than to have to take the heat of having to be on our heels defending ourselves year in, year out on attacks in Tallahassee. This is the kind of information that we need to get more proactive about. We need to get it out there, and I believe that there's those that are going to say we're going to get attacked every year no matter what, but it's going to make it that much more difficult for those who want to attack if the public is more on notice of all the great things that we're doing.
Well, if I can make a comment first, Mr. Chair. I couldn't agree more with Mr. Vasquez. We do need to get the projects that we are involved in out. We need to let the people know that they're coming. Not just, we do a magnificent job giving the heads up when we're about to do construction and when there's going to be a limitation in what's going on and they see it, but letting them know what is coming and how their money is being spent to better their future is a benefit to us too. So I couldn't agree more with Mr. Vasquez on this matter. Chair Gutierrez.
I think every day is a great opportunity to speak up and say how we can improve and educate and inform the public. I totally agree with you and with you, Louis. And I had already given that direction to staff that I want to see our marketing efforts doubled and beefed up and be really aggressive. And it didn't matter if we got critique that we were spending advertising dollars, marketing dollars, public relation dollars on promoting and letting people know what this money is being used for, what the improvements are, what the outcome is. The fight in Tallahassee will always be a fight. There's other reasons why, okay, that people will say why they want to reform MDX, and that's fine. Let them reform MDX. But as we sit here as volunteers, we have to do the right thing. And the right thing is we have to inform the public how the users' dollars are being spent and what projects are coming online, what they're going to do, and how wonderful they are. So we have to, because if not, this community is being dumbed down. They only hear the negative. They don't hear the truth. So we need to avoid the dumbing down effect. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez Pina.
Just a question, Mr. Toledo. Mr. Toledo, and obviously in our efforts to communicate efficiently and effectively, do we have the amount of projected employment that will be created? Is that something that's available to you? I think that's something for public record that I want to know personally, because I take my job as a volunteer very seriously.
We do have that information
I want to be proud of
available,
something.
and I believe that the number of jobs that this work program is creating is over 10,000 jobs in Miami-Dade County. Over 10,000 jobs. The exact number I'm not sure, but I know it's over 10,000 jobs that we're creating as a result of this 5-year work program.
Thank you. Now, does staff wish us to approve something today, Mr. Toledo and
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
We actually are seeking board committee endorsement of Resolution 15-16 to the board, and that is contained in your package, the resolution.
I'd like to read it in for the record. Miami-Dade Expressway Authority, Resolution 15-16, a resolution of the Board of the Miami-Dade Expressway Authority declaring that all projects contained in the MDX fiscal year 2016 through 2020 5-year work program are or will become part of the system and providing for an effective date.
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Frey, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez Pina. Any discussion? We've had a fairly decent discussion, but I don't have any other discussion items. Mr. Toledo, something to add?
We also need to approve the work program. This is a two-part item. So,
Okay. So let's for consistency, I think we should do the first one first, the resolution, and then we can approve the work program. Council, we'll do them in two separate actions, if that's acceptable.
That's acceptable.
Excellent. We have a first. Does anyone else have any other discussions on just the first item, which is the resolution? Does anyone? I hear discussion is closed. Does anyone have any opposition to the item? Hearing no opposition, the item passes unanimously. Now, what is the second item that the second action item that we wish to be approved, Mr. Counsel?
The endorsement of the resolution.
No.
Yeah, we already did that one, endorsement of the work program.
The endorsement of the work program, excuse me.
Mr. Rodriguez Pina is going to move that one, seconded by Mr. Vasquez. At this time, does anyone have any discussion on this item? Discussion is closed. Does anyone have any opposition to the endorsement? Hearing no endorsement, the item passes unanimously. I'd like to thank all of the members of the committee and Mr. Consul for all of their excellent information and comments on this. I think it's how we work here. We come up with some excellent ideas and we give great suggestions, and we have an excellent staff. So this will be now referred to the board. Thank you. Item now, I think we're on item C, correct?
Item C, yes. Before we move forward, for the record, Mr. Gonzalez has declared a conflict, and I don't think Board Member Consigo was here when I called for a conflict. Board Member Consigo, do you have any conflict with any of the items on the agenda?
On the agenda, you arrived after that was asked.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Who is going to be?
Item C.
Item C.
Item C. MDX procurement contract RFP 15-04. General Engineering Consultant Services. Construction Management Service, GECB. Approval to waive minor irregularities of the technical proposal submitted by Parsons Brinckerhoff, Inc.
Thank you very much. And who will be presenting for staff, Mr. Rodriguez?
Actually, Procurement Manager.
Oh, Ms. Cordero?
Yes, sir. Thank you. There's actually two requested actions. One is the approval of the waiver of minor irregularities of the technical proposal submitted by Parsons Brinckerhoff. And the second requested action is the approval to present the recommendation of the Technical Evaluation Committee for selection of a consultant directly to the MDX board at its meeting of May 19th, 2015. The waiver of minor irregularities, this committee deferred consideration of that item at its meeting last month in order to allow the board member that's serving as the oversight for this procurement process to participate in the discussion leading to a committee vote on the item. On March 17, we received 3 proposals in response to the RFP from EAC Consulting, Gannett Fleming, and Parsons Brinckerhoff. As a result of the compliance and responsiveness review of the proposals, it was found that the proposals submitted by Parsons Brinckerhoff contain minor irregularities, as I will detail in a minute. Staff is requesting that the minor irregularities of the proposal be waived, as they do not represent a competitive advantage and is in the best interest of the agency, and it is consistent with our prior practices. And in order also to maintain the highest level of competition available for this particular process. The RFP also allows for the agency, it gives the discretion to MDX to waive minor irregularities at its sole discretion. Both of the irregularities that are being considered are considered minor as they relate to form and not substance, and the actual requirements will not be waived. The first minor irregularity is in the way that the required years of experience for the program director was presented. It was required that the required years of experience were presented in the resume, and that the resume would include sufficient information, including dates, for us to determine that the proposed program director had the required years of experience. The resume that was presented for the proposed program director of PB was not presented in that manner, but there was information within the proposal that we could deduce that the program director, or ascertain, I should say, that the program director has the required years of experience. Therefore, it is a minor irregularity because it's a matter of form and not substance, and in fact, the program director does have the required years of experience. The second item for minor irregularity is that both the prime and the proposed subs are supposed to submit a complete and sign, and including the technical proposal sworn statement of public entity crime. This is the form in which they certify that they have not been convicted of a public entity crime in the last 36 years. There were 2 listed sub-consultants that did not include this form. Again, it would be a waiver of minor irregularity, as the requirement that the form be submitted by those sub-consultants that would provide services in the contract would not be waived. The second requested action item is the recommendation that the Technical Evaluation Committee final scores for selection be taken directly to the board. Since this item was deferred at the April Operations Committee, it pushes the selection for another month in order to ensure that we have the selection and any transition that may be required before the current contract expires. We're asking that the item be taken directly to the May 19th board meeting. The technical evaluation will be based on the scores provided as a result of the evaluation of the technical proposals and the oral interviews, which will be held on May 18th, and using the evaluation criteria approved by this committee and provided for in the RFP.
What is the recommendation of staff at this time?
Staff is recommending that the 2 minor irregularities be waived and that the proposal from Parsons Brinckerhoff be allowed to be evaluated.
Okay. Mr. Rodriguez-Pina, I know you were the oversight for the board, and the reason we deferred this to today is because you had presented us with your thoughts in writing, and we greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. But I really wanted you to be present for you to have the opportunity to express your position. So thank you very much for providing us with the written opinion that was entered into the record. But if you can give me your input, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your kindness and allowing this to move forward until I got here. The statement was actually never officially submitted. I want to make that for the record. It was kind of an internal. We never sent it's a specific reason why I say that I never actually submitted a statement. But nevertheless, I think I had extensive dialogue. I think this unfortunately fell on the wrong guy, because I've always been one of the most difficult people when it comes to waiving minor irregularities. So, I mean, that's kind of bad luck, but at the same time, I think that's part of my responsibility. You know, I'm here to do what I think is best for the ultimate, as an oversight member for this organization. I consider myself a procurement expert. So this is professionally, when I'm not here, I'm a procurement expert. So I really understand the seriousness of what we're asking here today. And if you take that in context of my trajectory, my history of being an outspoken member of for minor irregularities, this was a very difficult challenge for me. But at the same time, I feel qualified from not only the responsibility that I've been given, but my professional career as well as my outspokenness for minor irregularities. So I really challenged staff. I really did. I want board members to understand that I did take, well, as much as I respect everybody here, I did take them to task, and I have great respect for Helen. But I asked the questions, and I really felt, after having that dialogue, that these were mistakes, and what is ultimately the best interest of this organization. And I happen to, in this case, believe that the staff's recommendation is the appropriate way to go. And again, I want to enter it for the record that was not an easy task, because I did question staff, and in my philosophical and professional opinion of not having to waive irregularities, I think is something that we set a precedence. That was one of my concerns. Are we setting a precedence for future? And I think part of our responsibility in this board is to be human beings, to have that subjectivity, to identify that there are policies, but there are also exceptions, and this is one of those. But ultimately, I think it will make the competitive nature of these three great entities be able to give us their best foot forward. And I think for those reasons, I feel that staff's recommendation should be approved. So I support that, and again, continue and look forward to seeing the presentations on Monday. And leave it at that, Mr. Chairman. And if anybody has any questions, I'm ready.
Question?
Actually, absolutely, Mr. Vasquez.
Mr. Rodriguez-Peña, if you could just expand a little bit and just share how you reached comfort on the two items, just for our benefit.
Yeah. I think, part of it is just the plain common sense aspect. In other words, you see that the credentials are there. In this case, the years of experience are there. And I went through the entire resume, and it was just a format in this case that didn't specifically say the amount of years. So that was an easier one, if you will, out of the two items. The other one is a form, again, that I think that Helen has requested subsequent to that, and we want to make sure that those forms were actually submitted. So, to me, it wasn't more of the specific nature of the minor irregularity. It was more of a precedent setting, and are we opening up ourselves to future, say, well, you did it for this organization, we can do it for us, and that's a slippery slope. And that was, to me, the biggest personal challenge. And I take that very seriously, and on behalf of the board, I take my responsibility as an oversight member to represent all of you there. So this was not an easy one for me. But again, that's why we're human beings, to make decisions, to be able to interpret and make recommendations like this one is. But this is, I want to note for the record that this is something that, I put a lot of effort into, make sure to give everybody comfort, and I welcome any additional comments.
Any other questions to Mr. Rodriguez-Peña, Ms. Gutierrez, and then Mr. Meyer?
Okay. I appreciate the time and the effort that you've taken, Treasurer Peña, on this particular oversight, but also on all the other oversights that you've also been part of. And you're no longer a new member, huh?
But I'm a new treasurer, so I just want to make that for the record.
So my question now is, does this give this vendor, this consultant, a competitive advantage?
No, ma'am.
Okay. See, that's the key to the whole thing. Because if it doesn't give them a competitive advantage, then truly it is a minor irregularity of a document not being submitted, but that can be obtained.
Correct.
Now,
We obtained it yet or no?
that, to me, that's the key to the whole thing. Because if it did give them a competitive advantage over the other ones that did comply with all the prerequisites, then it would be an issue, because then it's sort of like a favoritism. But in this case, it's not. So now the question to me for you is, will you be asking for those forms to be filled by all those sub-consultants that need to supply it? Is that the next step once we vote on this? And
Took my question away.
If the committee approves to waive the minor irregularity, I would ask that they submit that form.
Okay. If by chance any one of those individuals, part of the bid, is not in compliance, what would be the next step?
Then they will be deemed non-responsive.
Okay, that's the key to me. See? And that at that point, they not be allowed to remove anyone or replace.
Correct.
See, that to me is the key to the formula.
Correct.
That everything continues the same way and that there is no movement in or out other than the resubmission of the form. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Mr. Mara?
Just a question for staff or board member Rodriguez-Pena. Item number 2, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. All of its proposed subconsultants must complete and submit in the technical proposal sworn statement of public entity crime form. Of the 2 subconsultants, that form was not submitted, but neither of those consultants were included in the proposed organizational chart, and then it goes on to further state that neither of these subconsultants will be providing services under the contract.
Well,
So please explain to me, if they're not in the organization chart, if they're not providing services, how did they get into the submission form?
the proposal needed to list all of their subs. There was another form that they needed to complete where it lists all of their subs and the services that will be provided with other relevant information of the individual firms. These 2 subs were listed in that form. When I did question, and there was correspondence in your package where I asked PB whether I was missing something in my evaluation or review, or not evaluation, but of my review of the proposal. They said, well, those proposals, those subs were not going to be providing services, yet they listed them in those forms. To kind of verify what they say that they will not be providing services, it could be deduced that potentially they may not because they were not included in the organizational chart. However, to now allow them to say they're not would be a change in the procurement in the proposal. That's why I'm considering them part of their proposal, and that's why they would be required to submit the form. Whether later on they're not going to provide services because they're not needed, etc., but they are going to be part of the proposal as it is today.
So for clarification, and to follow up on what Mr. Mara said, you're just basically saying is they're not allowed to change a proposal by pulling them off.
They're not allowed to now tell me these people are not going to be part of my team when they include them in a section of their team,
So now,
of their proposal.
if they're not compliant, they're out. Right.
Correct.
Okay, and it doesn't matter if they decide later they don't want to use them; it's irrelevant.
Correct.
Okay. I thought that's what I understood as well. Any other questions, Mr. Mara?
No, thank you.
I have a couple. Insofar as the first issue, if I recall what you stated is the required information was actually in the proposal but not in the resume they presented. Is my understanding correct on that?
The requirement was to submit a resume that had sufficient information, including dates, that would show us that that individual had the years of experience. The resume itself did not include dates for us to kind of make up the timeline of the years of experience. But as you review the remainder of the proposal, there was information that led you to that the gentleman does have in excess of the years of experience. So yes, the proposal did contain the information, just not in the manner in which it was required.
Right. So it was, and in this particular matter, it was more format over substance as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And insofar as staff's position on the second item, if either one of these 2 subcontractors do not submit the form or have some non-compliance based upon it, they will not be considered and will be deemed non-compliant. Is that correct? Mr. Rodriguez, is that correct as well? Correct. Okay. So they are going to be required. We're not waiving the form. We are waiving the fact that it wasn't submitted in advance, but requiring them to submit it today.
Correct.
Assuming that this passes.
Correct.
Okay. That's important to note that they're still going to have to submit the form. Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments? Hearing none, does it? Mr. Rodriguez-Pena, since you were, would you wish to move it? Yeah. Moved by Mr. Rodriguez-Pena, seconded by Mr. Ferre. Any more discussion on the item? Hearing no other discussion, discussion is closed. Is there any opposition to the item? Hearing no opposition from the committee, the item passes unanimously. Thank you for the information, and thank you, Mr. Rodriguez-Pena, for your detailed presentation.
The second action on...
The second item.
Oh, and the second item? What is the second item? Yes.
The request to allow us to take the results of the Technical Evaluation Committee evaluation directly to the board of May 19th.
And Mr. Rodriguez-Pina, you wish to move that as well?
Question was, are we doing something there, Helen, that
We have done it in the past, where in the essence of time we have taken stuff directly to the board and bypassed the endorsement of the committee.
I do have one concern. I am hesitant to do that unless there's an amendment to that recommendation that we need to get those two forms satisfied and presented to us before the May 19th meeting so that we ensure that they are in compliance before the technical is brought.
In fact, they would have to do that before the oral presentation on May 18th in order for them
That's
to
fine.
be.
Just want to make sure. That's fine. Excellent. Does anyone else have any question on the second item? Mr. Meyer? Actually, Mr. Gonzalez, we're not. We're not over.
He can stay.
You can stay.
You can stay. I'm sorry.
This is a board member of the resolution.
Okay.
Part of it, but-
Do you wish to move that, Mr. Rodriguez-Pina?
Yeah, I guess my question, more to staff. We're not setting any precedents there, right? We said we've done it in the past. Just because we've done it in the past doesn't make it right, but we've done it in the past. And then the reason for doing that is because we want to make up for the time lost to get it on the road. So I think there's an efficiency reason for that, and obviously time is money factor. So that's really, I think, Helen, if I understand it correct, that's why it's being proposed. Unless there's a philosophical, we're all here to give our opinions. I think that it's up to the board, but I would move the recommendation just because the economy of scale, time is money factor, and try to get this on the road.
Mr. Meyer?
I do have a quick question. Have the three proposers been notified of the potential for a May 18th interview?
Yes.
They're all here.
I just and from being in their shoes on the vertical side, I know how important it is to give the competition as much time as possible to be able to prepare and bring in the folks that are part of their team.
Absolutely. They've been
great.
notified, and even the proposal that was for consideration to, they knew that this was being considered and that there was a potential that they may not be asked to present on May 18th, but everybody has been aware and scheduled.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Mr. Ferre. Any more discussion on the item? Hearing no further discussion, the discussion is closed. Any opposition to this item? Hearing no opposition, the item passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And if we can go get Mr. Gonzalez before we start, see, because he was so patient.
This is going to be Monterey. Yep. Monterey. Okay. And then this.
You did. Yeah. Feel bad.
And a big one as well. Okay.
There you are.
Okay.
We lost Mr. Meyer. Okay. Okay. This is good. Okay. Item D. Council.
Oops. MDX Work Program A3629, interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County for the conveyance of easements to facilitate the construction and long-term maintenance of the State Road 836 interchange modifications at 87th Avenue project. Endorsement of interlocal agreement between Miami-Dade County and MDX for the conveyance of easements to facilitate construction and long-term maintenance of the project.
Mr. Toledo, I believe you'll be presenting for staff.
Yes.
Please, continue.
Committee members, the final design of the MDX project 83629 requires for MDX to construct a portion of the flyover ramp. I'm going to bring up a map real quick on your screens, but it requires that a portion of the flyover ramp from westbound Northwest 12th Street to westbound 836 on a section of Northwest 12th Street, which is owned by Miami-Dade County. The project also requires for MDX to widen Northwest 12th Street to the south onto MDX right-of-way. This interlocal agreement grants respective easements to both agencies for these proposed improvements. It will also facilitate the construction and long-term maintenance of the project after construction. That's it.
Any questions on this item from Mr. Gonzalez? Mr. Gonzalez?
All right.
Mike, it's okay.
There is some liability involved in this interlocal agreement. So what's MDX liability? Is it limited to design and construction?
Yes. Yes, they are.
And there's an indemnity. I'm assuming that our vendors are going to indemnify us and provide bonding and insurance and all of that.
That is correct.
Do we, in addition, have any insurance that covers these types of indemnities that we may have on the books?
I would have to refer to our...
All of our contracts have, yes, the indemnity provision, and they also have general commercial liability, depending on where in railroad, if construction is happening in where a railroad crossing. So we do have general liability insurance requirements for all of our contracts, in addition to our indemnity provision.
Mr. Gonzalez, any other questions?
Nope.
Mr. Meyer, please.
A point of personal privilege. I need to leave the meeting. My apologies, but I'll call right in once I get on the road.
We appreciate your, first of all, thanks for your participation.
Thank you.
And we look forward to hearing from you on the phone.
Is he allowed to do that? Is he?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We have, take a motion, take a vote. Unless, of course, there's something goes wrong with the phone. You know, no, kidding. Any other questions? Mr. Cancio, this was an issue that you were discussing earlier today. Do you have any comments or questions for staff based upon what you've learned from Mr. Toledo right now?
Yes.
Looking at the design, that ramp is going from east to west above the 87th Avenue.
Actually, it goes over 84th Avenue, and then it comes on directly to westbound 836. And what it's going to do is that it's going to take a lot of the traffic that goes westbound on Northwest 12th in the afternoon that has to contend with the signal at 87th Avenue or Northwest 12th. It'll take them on directly to 836 instead of having to cross 87th and then get on. That's going to help. That's going to help tremendously the operations at 87th Avenue and Northwest 12th.
I think that is a great idea.
Thank you.
And the only thing that I would like, maybe when we start, some of this job, I don't want a sign at the end of the job. I want a sign at the beginning of the job saying that, the MDX is providing, the fund for this improvement.
I think, I'm going to let staff comment on that, but I think that is an absolutely excellent idea.
It's going to happen. Mr. Chairman, if I may, because this is a great example, and I think Chair Gutierrez asked this question about partnerships. This is a project. We get criticized for coming up with these projects that are not needed, spending our money. This is a project that is a direct result of the interaction with the MPO and one of its subcommittees, the Freight Transportation Committee, that said, let's improve the interchange to improve freight and logistics out of the Doral area onto the expressway system. So this notion that we develop projects in the vacuum, this is a testament that that's not a fact.
Very good. Does any other discussion? Does anyone wish to move the item in? By Chair Gutierrez, seconded by Mr. Gonzalez. We've had an extensive discussion. Does anyone else have any questions or discussion or comments? Hearing none, discussion is closed. Does anyone oppose this item? Hearing no opposition, the item passes unanimously. Thank you. Action item F, Council.
E.
So we just did E.
Right? Action item E.
Did we just do E? No. Yeah. Okay. E.
MDX procurement contract.
My children, but that's fine. E.
MDX procurement contract number ITB 15-04. MDX work program number A3629.060. Construction services for State Road 836 interchange modifications at 87th Avenue. $71.5 million. Approval to advertise and invitation to bid.
Mr. Toledo, I believe you'll be presenting on this matter?
Yes. Staff requests committee approval to advertise an invitation to bid to provide construction services for MDX project 83629. The 83629 project includes the reconstruction of the main line and 87th Avenue interchange to enhance overall operations of the system. We're improving the main line, existing ramps, 87th Avenue, Northwest 12th Street, and providing a new flyover connection from Northwest 12th Street to westbound 836, as well as expanding on the bicycle path along Northwest 12th Street with the existing path that exists now between 107th Avenue and 87th Avenue. We anticipate an advertisement in the month of June with an anticipated notice to proceed approximately around October, depending on how the procurement plays out. Staff is recommending a minimum 15% small business requirement, as well as a 15% minimum local business requirement for this contract. This contract is currently funded in the 5-year work program.
Okay, does anyone from the committee have any questions for staff? Of course,
To make a
Ms.
comment,
Gutierrez?
this is
Chair
one
Gutierrez?
of the 5.
Yes,
This is one of the 5 big projects.
that is correct. Anyone else have any comments? Hearing none. Mr.
Chairman.
Member Conceal.
After you bid the project, how long going to take to build it?
This project is going to include the invitation to bid is going to include a price and time component. I believe that our current estimates are about 1,100 days. We're hoping that the contractors deliver that in a much more efficient timeline. But we're looking at what we call an A+B bidding, which is price and time as part of the bid.
And that's actually something that, as we have learned recently, is extremely important. That, as Mr. Rodriguez-Pina has eloquently said many times, and I couldn't agree with him more, time is money. So I think that will be something that I'm sure our those who are going to be bidding, construction companies are going to take very seriously based upon what has recent contracts and has occurred. And that's very clear in the contract. Is that correct, Mr. Toledo?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Mr. Concio, do you have any other questions?
No, the only thing that is, I think that 3 years is too much time, to build that thing.
Oh.
Yeah, 3 years. Yeah, it's too much time.
But you don't stop traffic.
That is correct.
You don't stop traffic.
Our estimates are based on the amount of bridge work that is going to be happening on the existing system. We're practically replacing all the existing bridges over 87th Avenue. So the MOT have to maintain traffic on the existing system. We have it estimated at 1,100 days. Again, the contractors can come up with more efficient ways to deliver that, and we've seen them do that in the past. So we're hopeful that they're going to do it here.
Excellent. Any other questions? Hearing none, does anyone wish to move this item? Moved by Chair Gutierrez, seconded by Mr. Gonzalez. We've had discussion. Any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion, discussion is closed. Any opposition to the item? Hearing no votes of opposition, the item passes unanimously. I'm going to just make this easy. The next action item, Council.
Excuse me, item F. Joint participation agreement with FDOT for the preparation by MDX of a conceptual planning and environmental study for the Dolphin Park and Ride Terminal Facility project, $300,000. Endorsement of the joint participation agreement between FDOT and MDX for the funding by FDOT of a conceptual planning and environmental study for the Dolphin Park and Ride Terminal Facility project.
Mr. Toledo, it's a Toledo afternoon.
Yes. Board members, Miami-Dade Transit is planning to construct, operate, and maintain a park and ride facility in the northwest quadrant of State Road 836 and the Turnpike interchange along Northwest 12th Street. DOT is offering a grant of $300,000 to fund 100% of the conceptual planning and environmental study necessary for this project. MDT is seeking a partner that can accelerate the delivery of this project. MDX has demonstrated the ability to efficiently deliver the project on an accelerated schedule by leveraging existing contracts and resources. MDX will also partner with MDT and DOT to accelerate future phases of the project. Staff is requesting Operations Committee to endorse this JPA for $300,000 for the conceptual planning and environmental study, and we would start that immediately upon execution of that JPA. This allows us to advance our strategic goals by assisting in enhancing mobility options to commuters in western Miami-Dade County.
Thank you. This is something that the county wants, right? The county needs.
Oh, thank you.
Miami-Dade Transit, yes.
Miami-Dade County. This is something that they need. Okay. Can you expand on what does it mean, initial stage of the project? To fully fund this initial stage of the project. That's what FDOT is doing.
Okay. On your screens,
Some other money missing, or does that mean that's what I want to make sure that I get a
on
full
your screen,
grasp?
I put up a little map that shows what the area that we're talking about. In black, you see the existing turnpike system. The red shows the future connections from Turnpike to 836 that are part of the current Southwest 83618 Southwest 836 Southwest Extension project. What's in blue is the park and ride facility, or the proposed park and ride facility. This phase, the 300,000, what it covers is to look at the environmental component of being able to develop this site for a park and ride facility. Using our existing resources through our GC and other contracts, we would do a very preliminary or a small PD&E to be able to address any environmental issues related to that site. And then the next phases, which are for design and construction, which are future agreements that we will bring back to this committee, are to look at how to design and then construct this. In discussions with DOT, and in order to accelerate this project, we would look to do a design-build finance type project where MDX would lead it, and we would use the availability payments from DOT and from Miami-Dade Transit and put that into a project for the contractors to bid.
It's not that I'm slow. I was digesting everything that you were saying to come back with another question, or at least to start to sound smart with the question.
No one would ever
I
describe
think,
you as slow, Chair Gutierrez. I've known you.
This is wonderful. I think we should start keeping an accountability of all the partnerships that we're doing. And this is a very positive move on our behalf with FDOT, and especially for transit-related initiatives. This is a good thing. But I also think that as we enter into this agreement and we proceed, that we also need to make that announcement with those parties that should be cheering, that we can move this quickly together.
Chairman.
Any other comments, Mr. Chair? Okay. Vice Chair Ferre.
This future MDX 83618 ramp, who's going to pay for that?
That's part of it.
Mr.
That's MDX. That's part of the 83618 project.
In other words, not participating in any way.
We haven't engaged.
In paying for that ramp.
We haven't engaged the Turnpike in that conversation. 83618 is in the PD&E stage right now, so we haven't even gotten to that agreement.
The question, I guess, is they have a lot of money. They also have an interest in this happening. So my question is, are we sharing this expense, or is this this helps them as much as it helps us.
I fully anticipate that as we develop 83618, we will request participation from Florida's Turnpike Enterprise moving forward.
The second question that I have is, the area that's outlined in green is owned by who? DOT owns the totality of that. Yes. But MDX has some property in there?
Some, where you see the road that goes north that crosses over that lake, that's an MDX, right here in this area. And this area on the
Those
left,
outer lots are ours.
Those are, it's the majority of the land there is DOT owned, with some of the roads that are coming into the parking lot, the future parking lot, coming through MDX right away.
But are we going to be involved in the development of that property, or are we going to give them the land?
Right now, the plan is for MDX to take the lead in doing the development, the design and construction of this facility.
Well, as I understand, this is a transit there's going to be a transit station there.
This would be a transit-owned station in the future.
Now, we're not paying for that transit station, are we?
No, this is all this is going to be funded by DOT and transit.
So, in other words, the county is paying for that transit station and the parking pavement and the in and off ramp to access it. So, in other words, MDX is not putting up any money on that portion of it, even though it's not yet determined as to who's going to be paying for the ramps themselves. That's to be negotiated with the.
Mr. Chair, go ahead.
The key to this item is the following. MDX has demonstrated the ability to efficiently deliver the project on an accelerated schedule by leveraging existing contracts and resources. That's what we're doing. That's our end of this deal.
Madam Chair, I'm just putting into the record that we're not putting any money into the parking lot, into the...
Just for the record and for transparency, as part of these agreements, MDX would be fronting the initial costs, but these agreements reimburse us for the efforts that we're going to be expending.
The county reimburses.
Actually, the first phase is a DOT reimbursement. Just to give you the Cliff Notes version, and I'll let Mr. Pego elaborate, DOT has agreed to fund 100% of the PD&E and design of this for the development of this site. Then they've also agreed to pay for half of the construction of the park and ride facility, which is estimated at $10 million.
Half? Who pays the other half?
Miami-Dade Transit will have to pay the other half. So that's estimated around $10 million. So right now there's a $300,000 contribution from DOT for the PD&E portion. Then there's an $800,000 contribution for what we're going to refer to as the RFP development stage. And then there's the $5 million contribution from DOT for the actual construction. MDT has to provide the local match at an additional $5 million. All that money would come back to MDX through agreements.
All right. So Mr. Chairman, the next question is, I see that there is north of this a truck parking facility.
That is correct.
The truck parking, that land is owned by whom?
That is also owned by DOT,
okay.
And they are currently undertaking the task of doing all the...
We're not involved in the fast tracking of that particular project.
We're not involved in the actual facility. If you look at the map, and I'll show you here with the cursor, our project would look at the theoretical 122nd Avenue extension up to this intersection, up to the entrance of the truck parking facility.
So in other words, both of these parking facilities would be connected?
They would be connected through 122nd Avenue.
Okay. And who owns the land in between one and the other facility?
DOT owns. Oh, well, these lands? These are privately owned lands.
I mean between them.
It's a lake.
It's a lake. Okay.
And we currently own that lake.
We MDX own that
MDX.
lake. And how does that play into all this?
Part of the design is going to have to look at 122nd Avenue going over it. So more than likely it'll require some kind of a culvert to be able to address that you maintain the drainage capacity of that lake.
All right. The third question that I have is I noticed that this takes care of the southbound and the northbound going north. But what happens to the people coming from the south who want to access this?
They would access through the exits at the Turnpike. Currently, you have access to Northwest 12th Street from the Turnpike that would come directly in with very little friction.
So what this in effect does is it enhances the transition from the north rather than from the south.
Correct.
Because the south already has sufficient ramps that will through the existing system.
That is correct.
Now, are we transferring any of our land to FDOT on this? In other words, those little lots down there.
I don't think we would be doing it with FDOT. I think as we develop the concepts, We'd look at future maintenance agreements with Miami-Dade Transit.
What do you mean
for their
future? Are we
operation.
maintaining this facility?
Miami-Dade Transit will be maintaining this facility. DOT would have to would transfer that land to Miami-Dade Transit, and they would be responsible for the full maintenance.
I'm asking about the land that MDX owns in that within the green. Are we transferring that also?
We would probably work out easements with maintenance language for the portions that impact our right-of-way.
Okay, I understand that this is wonderful and for the county, and we're doing them a big favor. And I think I see what we get a little bit out of this. What else? I mean, what is MDX getting out of this, other than being good guys again, and going to bat again, and solving problems again for the county, and then of course being blamed for being bad guys by the members of the state legislature?
Ms. Gutierrez, you can respond to that.
I think you said it all. Vice Chair, I believe you've said it all. Again, you've said it all.
Yeah, but I'm asking questions.
No. The
Not
answer
again.
is you've said it all. Again, you've said it all.
Okay, thanks.
This is a good thing that we need to do. This is a good thing that we need to do for the people of this county. It doesn't cost MDX or our users any money. We're being a conduit. We're working with FDOT. We're working with Miami-Dade. And we have to consider their greater good. We have to be above all those that are not
Got it.
good.
So I've
We
got
need to-
one last question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is my last question. Obviously, and I know that particular district has been very anxious to get bus rapid transit from this location to the MIC. Now, will the rapid transit from this location with this terminal that's being built to the MIC be on the shoulders, and is that in place for that to happen, or is that in the future to happen?
Yes, it is. In fact, this facility will be the prime location for the bus rapid transit or the express bus service from MDT on 836, not only to the MIG but also to downtown. And we are coordinating with Miami-Dade Transit on how we're going to build that into our current projects and the existing system. In fact, to provide better service, we've already come to agreements with MDT where we're going to be providing that express bus service on the inside, where you don't have to be contending with the entrances and exits, and it will provide them with more effective headways on those routes.
But that hasn't been brought to this board yet, has it?
Well, it's already part of the system. We already have the existing shoulder. We have an agreement.
You just said that it was going to be in the inside to avoid. Has that been brought to this?
Our projects
board?
currently our projects that are currently being designed are including the facilitating the shoulder improvements for bus rapid transit or for express bus service.
You made a statement that this would be inside so that it would facilitate. I'm asking, has this been brought to the board?
What we've done is all of our projects are considering express bus service. We've always looked at the shoulder that's going to be utilized to be the one on the outside. We've worked out with DOT that instead of doing it on the outside, we're going to do it on the inside,
Right.
which is the shoulder on the left, so that they can provide better service for the long run.
You're going to do it on the inside from where to where?
We're going to do it for the whole stretch between the turnpike all the way to downtown, as much as we can.
You're going to do it in the inside on 836 all the way to downtown.
Yep.
That's the first I've ever heard of this.
Mr. Ferre, Mr.
I've
Vice
never,
Chair.
and I've never heard of this.
Mr. Ferre, if I may, the typical sections for 836 west of 57th Avenue have always accommodated a managed lane system
I understand
in the
that.
median.
I understand that.
What we did with 836-28 and what we will do in the future is make sure that we have full shoulders in the median, in the middle, inside, and to the outside. In discussing with Miami-Dade Transit how they could operate something like this in the interim, the conclusion, they always assumed it was going to be on the outside. But because 836 has so many entrances and exits so close together, quarter sections, half a mile, the bus drivers feel that it would not be safe to run on the outsides because you would have people exiting the expressway and getting on, and then the bus would not be efficient. If you ran on the median, If you ran on the inside shoulder during the peak period.
I'm not arguing any of
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
Mr.
but
Director. What I'm
an
asking
operational
is,
plan hasn't come to you. No, it has not.
What I'm asking you is, this is the first time that I have heard that we are going to go on the inside to do bus rapid transit to downtown. I've never heard that.
This is a very recent development. We just had meetings with MDT about a week and a half ago on this to do the coordination.
And you're saying there's space now on 836. I've heard otherwise for the last 5 years, and now
it's based on the coordinations that we're doing, interagency coordinations that we're having for the 836, 828, the 836-28 project, to make sure that we are incorporating the improvements in conjunction with our sister agencies. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Part of that discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to take up any more of your time on this, but I would like very much for this to be scheduled and for full discussion and a full disclosure of exactly what we're doing on this, because this is a major, major, major issue that has not been discussed and vetted by this board.
Mr. Rodriguez-Pina, go ahead, your comment.
Yeah, I've been patiently waiting, and I think that, I look at it from a business approach. I'm not quite sure what I'm getting for my money. That's just really the bottom line here. I think we're supposed to be stewards of our money. So Mr. Ferre made some excellent comments and questions, and I heard the chairwoman say that we need to rise above the fray. But I have uncomfortable. I'm not comfortable with this at this point for the lack of information, and maybe it's just my personal lack of understanding. But I don't feel comfortable moving forward on this. So when the time is ready, I'll be voting against this, just out of sheer not understanding what is the participation, what is it that we're going to be getting, and then the future complications of what is it that we're engaging to. Because this is the beginning of something that we're committing to. We'll commit us to something else down the road, and I think that this may, again, maybe lack of information, may be committing us to a lot more. I think in theory, I want to be partners with everybody to contribute to the greater good. I just want to understand what it is that I'm partnering up and what I'm committing myself to. And once I make that commitment, well, now I voted on something, therefore you're part of it. So for that reasons, I'll be voting to not support this item.
Yes, let's start with
Secretary
Pago first.
If I can provide some clarity to this item. Very simply put, the long-range plan has already committed this board to providing express bus service on 836. How it's done, where it's at, that's up to the engineering side to make the best recommendation to this board. That being said, as the chairwoman pointed out, the board and MDX is in a great position to facilitate and help drive how this park and ride lot is designed and how it's built. The department's commitment is very simple. We're upfronting the land. We're paying for the state environmental assessment to be done and for the preliminary engineering to be done as part of our normal support for capital improvement projects for transit. We pay up to 50% of the capital cost. So Miami-Dade Transit and FDOT will be paying the construction costs. It is not our intent as partners on this project that MDX is holding the bag, but MDX has really a lot to gain for its efforts and publicity of providing transit solutions in our county. So I see this as a very positive thing for this agency to take on. And we're here as the district secretary and as a board member to help move this forward.
And if I may, because I need to clarify something really quick.
Mr. Rodriguez.
And Vice Chair Ferre, you're correct that it hasn't come before the board. A policy decision by this board for managed lanes on 836 has not come before it, other than let's prepare the facility so that at some point. No. He's talking express buses. Express buses and managed lanes, the fact that you use it on I-95 or on I-75 is not what we're talking about. We have provided the pavement on 836 in past projects and in future projects to allow for the management of a shoulder, potentially in the short term, to run express buses. How that operation is going to function, the headways, how the signage is going to work is something that we're working with Miami-Dade Transit. Aside from that, this board at some point in the future is going to have to address how do we operate a managed lane network, because the state of Florida is managing all of the north-south, and there is a master plan that calls for a connection on State Road 836. This board has not taken that policy decision yet. But what we have done is we have prepared the highways and we will have prepared the infrastructure so that at the time that this board or future boards make that decision, it'll be easy for just a restriping of the facility and a restructuring of the overhead signage to manage the corridor. They're two different, there's one that's longer term and one that's shorter term. But we'll be happy to present.
No, actually, Mr. Furr, you will be able to. Mr. Vasquez has been waiting, so I'd
Oh,
like
I'm
to-
sorry.
Actually, I will come back to
Whenever you want.
Clarify, there's been 3 conversations.
Right.
Under one conversation, when in reality, there's only one vote that's required.
Correct, I
That is
know.
unrelated to the managed lane.
Correct.
That is unrelated to BRT.
I was gonna get there next.
This is a separate item.
Right.
That's
The
what
only-
we
the
need
only-
to.
But Mr. Vasquez, I'll let you speak, and then we'll clarify again.
I would just like to reiterate what the chairwoman mentioned earlier. This is a fantastic opportunity for us to let the rest of the community point to the agency that is best suited to deliver this in an expedited basis. And number 2, the reason I will be supporting this is this is a classic example of why our makeup includes the District 6 Secretary. This is a classic example of why his input is meaningful for this kind of a vote. And I'm listening to him. He supports it. He thinks it's the right thing, and I'll be supporting it.
Vice Chair Furr, do you have any comments on this item? Not on managed lanes, not on the bus thing, but
Yes,
just on the
yes.
on the
Yes, sir.
preparation for the plan for
Yes, sir.
for this conceptual plan.
I am in favor of this project and will be voting in favor of it. But I want to leave on the record very clear that this question of bus rapid transit is of tremendous importance to this community.
Well, of course it is.
May I?
Of course.
And I think that the importance of it is that if we botch it up, if we don't do it right, if it's not done right, and it's screwed up, and it's done in a half-fashion, in a half-ass manner, then I think what occurs is that we'll kill the possibilities of doing bus rapid transit, which is the only solution that Miami-Dade County has for future transit expansion. And I'm just concerned, and I know that we want to help the county, we want to help that district, we want to move that project, and I'm all for it. Just, I think it's important that since we're now involved in helping, Mr. Executive Director, that we do it in such a way that it really is a functional system that opens the doors for other moves that we need to do in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your patience with me.
No, Mr. Furr, I completely agree. But I think it's important for us to also be clearly aware of that this board, in the years I have been on it, and I have not been on it as long as you have, but I certainly have been on it for a fair amount of time, we don't do anything haphazard. We take great time to look into things. We discuss them. We debate them. We work very hard with the Secretary. Our staff is very well aware of the fact that we take every vote very seriously here, as you have over all the years that you have been here as well. So clearly, I think it goes without saying that they know, and everyone knows, that we don't just come in here and rubber stamp anything. No problem. So on the item, are there any other comments on the item that is before us now? Hearing none, does anyone wish to move the item? Mr. Vasquez will move it, seconded by Ms. Gutierrez. We've had an extensive amount of discussion on this item. Does anyone have any other comments? Hearing no other comments, discussion is closed. Because of some concerns, I'd like this to be a roll call vote.
Yes, sir. Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez Pina?
No.
Mr. Gonzalez? Yes. Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Mr. Pago? Mr. Vasquez?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez? Vice Chair Ferre?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much for that. And Mr. Rodriguez Pina's no vote is noted for the record as well. The next item on the action agenda.
Item G, Work Program 11211.030, Design Build Services for Central Boulevard Reconstruction, Design and Construction of Overhead Signs for MIA, $54,945. Endorsement of Amendment Number 3 to the interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County for the Central Boulevard Reconstruction in substantially final form.
Mr. Toledo.
Thank you, sir. At the request of the Miami-Dade Aviation Department, MDX will provide the design, replacement, and installation of overhead signs and lighting from the Central Boulevard to the State Road 112 and Rental Car Center exit ramps. These signs are need replacement to have the same look as the upgrades that have already been received in that corridor with the Central Boulevard project. The cost of those signs are $42,600. MDX has also been requested by Miami-Dade Aviation Department to design and install 2 traffic signal mast arms. These mast arms will provide Miami-Dade Aviation with the ability to hang warning devices for the existing lower vehicle drive, which is the entrance for the arrivals, to advise the public of low clearance. This is a cost of $12,380.45. MDOT will transfer these funds to MDX in one lump sum in the amount of $54,980.45, no later than 30 days after the execution of this amendment to the existing interlocal agreement.
So basically, we're going to be just making a conformity of all the signs that are already in place. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Excellent. Any questions on this item? Mr. Rodriguez-Pina.
Just to make sure, this is item G, correct? Okay. Just a quick question. Now, this is part of our continued contribution of Central Boulevard, right? This is part of a long-standing commitment that we've made before I was here. I believe it was many years ago. This is the same project, just for clarification purposes.
It has to do with the same project. We wouldn't be using the contract that was used to do the construction because that contract that's already closed out. We're using our other resources to be able to deliver this. So our GC is doing the design, and we'll be turning that over to Miami-Dade Transit, and then we'll be providing the installation through our asset maintenance contract.
Mr. Chairman, follow-up question. So in addition to the $54,000, we're providing labor, or is that
everything is included in the $54,000?
And then this would be another joint project with Miami-Dade Transit?
This is with the airport.
Department?
This has been a joint project with the airport and DOT.
So, and again, just for clarification, in addition to the project that has been done, this is a separate item.
This was a request that came at the end as the project was closing out, a request by the airport, and we're just facilitating that to be able to close it out, and that's why we're using the existing interlocal agreement and providing this as an amendment to the existing interlocal agreement. This is it's a reimbursement of the funds.
When you say reimbursement, Mr. Chairman, follow-up, when you say reimbursement, we're getting reimbursed or we're reimbursing them?
No, they are providing us with the funds to do this work.
So basically it costs us nothing.
Okay. So it won't cost us anything, right?
It will not cost us anything.
That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Yes, that's Ms. Gutierrez. Chair Gutierrez, I apologize.
Thanks. I think sometimes it's important to go back to then move forward and better understand what this item is, okay? If you go back and explain to us how we do have a partnership, how we did do something enormous and big and important and relevant for the number one economic engine for Miami-Dade County, which is the aviation department, right? The airport. Yes. We are good partners, and we gave them something. We did something for them. Very important. Maybe we weren't invited to the ribbon cutting. Maybe we weren't there. Maybe someone else got the credit, but MDX is the one that created that put the funding up so that grand entrance is there. So take us back to bring us forward to fully understand that we are good partners. We happen to do the right thing for all transportation partners, for Miami-Dade County, and it's part of our statute, is part of it. It's part of the things that we're supposed to do. It's not something that we're doing extraordinary outside. It's something that we're supposed to do. Let's all read our bylaws. It's something that we have it. It's the same thing as, elected officials can actually sit at MDX. They can sit now. So don't get confused when the subject is going bum, 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 and reality is reality. This is a good reality. Take me back. That's what happens when you have historical perspective. Take me back to this Central Boulevard. It's a very important, iconic entrance because I believe the gentleman that was director of the airport is sitting in the audience.
Yes.
He's there. And he remembers and I remember. So go ahead, inform us because some of us are new and we need to be informed so we're better educated in making these wonderful, important decisions. This is a good thing. We need to approve it. Yes, take me back.
Okay, back in I believe it was 2009, 2010 timeframe, the airport, or well, prior to that, the airport always, as part of their master plan, had the Central Boulevard improvements programmed in their capital program. In 2009, using they had allocated DOT growth management funds, and they needed the local match to be able to build the project. MDX came to the table to deliver the local match, and we also agreed with the airport that we would manage the design build of that project, the Central Boulevard improvements, and that was back in 2010-2011 timeframe. As the project moved forward, there were several items that the airport requested through the life of the project to enhance the project. These were items that were not part of the original design build scope, and they weren't part of the original design or development of the original concepts. They requested that we include these additional enhancements into the projects, and we were able to do that by the interlocal agreement that was established for them to request those enhancements, and they provided 100% contribution of any additional work related to the Central Boulevard project. Through as the project continued to develop, I believe we had one or two amendments to the interlocal agreement for additional work that the airport had requested. Now, fast forwarding to the end of the project, as we're getting to the end of the project, the airport realized that during the reviews of the design plans and during the development of the project, there was a couple of overhead signs that were not included in the design build project. These were signs that, for whatever reason, the airport left out of their master signing plan. They recognized that this was something that they overlooked, but that they wanted changed. So they requested for MDX to go ahead and design and replace the two signs that were not covered as part of the Central Boulevard design build contract. We provided the estimates for the design and replacement and installation of those signs. After we did that, they also requested that we look at the mast arms to include that design as part of that, as part of the interlocal agreement amendment, so that they can go ahead and put those warning signs into before the public accesses the Low Oak Vehicle Drive. Because if you recall, in the last 3 years, I think we've had 2 incidents with high vehicles trying to get into Lower Vehicle Drive when they didn't meet the clearance. So we want to, the intent is to provide a safety bar that would prevent that from happening, and also it's a safety measure because I believe there was some lives lost as part of those accidents.
And committee members, just for further perspective, the Central Boulevard project was a total reconstruction of Central Boulevard, the entrance to the expressway with connections to 21st Street, which is the intermodal center entrance, State Road 112 and State Road 836. It separated traffic for airport users and for airport work, or the services that go through perimeter roads. So it completely separated that to make it a safer entrance and exit from the airport. At $50 million, by the way.
Okay. Board Member Casio.
You know, I am a new member. This is my third meeting.
You are now the official new member. Yes, you are. You and Mr. Walters.
But as I said before, you know, Central Boulevard, if the MDX have been putting a bunch of money, I think that we have to have some sign that the people that they are paying their tolls, they know that we have been putting the money there. I think that is something that I would like that maybe that the Treasury have some money allowed, and it's very small, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 I am able to pay for, okay? But we need to have something in the Central Boulevard that MDX have been putting the money, like in the MIC, because, not many people know what MDX have been doing. People say, boy, I am paying more for the tolls, but, if you don't advertise, you are in a bad shape.
Couldn't agree with you.
Okay.
Mr.
Francancio,
Spector?
like I said at the last meeting, we are going to put up those signs. If the airport gives us any issues with that, maybe what we need to do is get back the money from the toll payers and invest it somewhere else.
I agree.
So,
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, does anyone wish to move the item? Moved by Rodriguez-Pena, seconded by Chair Gutierrez. Any other discussion? Hearing no more discussion, any opposition? Hearing no opposition, the item passes unanimously. Action item H.
Traffic Management Center Co-Location Memorandum of Understanding, $440,659. Endorsement of the Memorandum of Understanding with FDOT.
board members, there's a Scribner's error on your agenda item. If you look at the amount under the title, it says 440,839.47. That is a typo. It should be 440,659. The body of the document, the agreements all have the 440,659. That's just a typo. So just for the record.
Mr. Toledo, I believe you're presenting.
Yes, sir. In June of 2008, MDX entered into an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, for 5 years, for a 5-year term with DOT for the MDX Traffic Management Center to be co-located at the District 6 Sunguide Center. In May of 2013, the MOU was extended for 2 years through June 30th of 2015. Also a typo. I apologize. Staff is requesting that a new MOU be executed for a term of 10 years through June 30th of 2025. We've realized the economies of being able to co-locate, and that has tremendously benefited MDX travelers, and they also receive the efficiencies of a system-wide public safety, mobility, and traveler information system. The allocation of the operations and maintenance costs are proportionate to the office floor space occupied at the TMC by MDX. The total cost for the rent and maintenance for the 10-year period will be $440,659. Payments will be made annually on September 1st of each fiscal year, as detailed in Section 1.2 of the MOU, attached as an exhibit to the air. The annual amounts include a 3% increase for the maintenance portion of the payment, which covers utilities, janitorial services, building, and SunGuide software system upgrades through the term of the MOU.
Any questions from the committee? Yes, Vice Chair Ferrari.
Mr. Chairman. So, in other words, we were paying previously $176,000 for a 5-year period. Then there was an increase of $77,000 for 2 years. Now the 10-year at $440,000, it seems to me, is about the same. It isn't excessive.
There's small differences. If you look at the first 5 years, the $176,000, over the 5 years, we're paying $35,000 and change.
Yeah.
For that, the second MOU increased that to about $38,000 a year if you take it on average.
There's hardly.
That just includes the increases. If you look at the 440 over the 10 years, it's roughly averaged out. It's about $44,000 a year.
Hardly an increase. That's what I'm saying.
Correct.
Any other questions? Hearing none, does anyone wish to move the item? Moved by Secretary Pego, seconded by Chair Gutierrez and Mr. Vasquez. Anyone in any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, discussion is closed. Any opposition to the item? Hearing no opposition to the item passes unanimously. Action item I.
Endorsement of MDX excess property leasing policy.
Is Jason here? Jason? Marie will take it for Jason.
Okay. This was a policy that was discussed at the January policy workshop to ensure transparency and to formalize our procedures and our practices We put together a new policy. This is a new policy that we previously did not have. And essentially it defines what is excess property, and it also explains who would be certifying if excess parcels could be leased out, which would be the director of engineer or a member of the GEC. It also indicates that we have to have a bid process and a market analysis, and it also goes through the approval process of a lease.
Anybody have any questions on this item? Chair Gutierrez.
Let's take it slow.
Yes?
Let's take it slow and let's review exactly what this is.
Absolutely.
Okay? Excess policy means, is it the assets that MDX has and is currently not using it, perhaps will not use it, will not need it, and what we do with it, right? Just, I need to better understand this.
Correct. These are parcels that were purchased for the purpose of a future project. So obviously to leverage our assets and to maximize our access, we will go ahead and lease them out until such time the engineering department or the GEC says we need that parcel for a project.
And the reason why I say let's slow it down is because it's funny how this came about, and I was going to ask staff to give us a listing of our current assets to see what we can do that we can ourselves construct, create, that can create non-toll revenues, okay? I wanted to us have the wisdom to go back and look and see how we can use these things, even though, yeah, we don't need them for express ramps and whatever, but where are they and what can we do with them? So that's why I said slow down for me, because I want to read it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, I guess we've been reading our minds or been talking. We agree with you. We are looking at our entire asset base. We're actually looking at it in the context of our master plan, our strategic master plan, and we would like to bring to you various opportunities along our facilities to better utilize our assets, whether it is for non-toll revenue or to provide better service to our customers, the better traffic flow, better access. Now, if any of that occurs, it's never going to be considered excess property, and it won't be part of this policy, because if it's needed for a public purpose, if it's needed for a capital project, it will not be categorized as excess property that would be out for lease.
Okay. Backup question.
Of course.
At what point are we sitting down and going through the entire accountability and we are identifying what is an excess property?
We're going to bring the entire program to the operations committee.
Okay. One more question.
Of course.
Does this item go back? And I didn't drink coffee. And does this item now go to policy? Or it came from
Actually,
policy?
I'm sorry, I apologize. The request is obviously is to approve the policy, and since we had the workshop with the entire board, we're asking for this item to go directly to the board this month.
One more?
Yeah, but isn't there a policy meeting coming up?
Is there a policy meeting?
Hold on.
This month.
Not for this
Not
month.
for next month. Next month.
Next month, but not one this month.
Okay. What's, I'm sorry, back question.
Of course.
What's the time frame of when the listing is going to be addressed and when we're going to go in and determine what is excess that goes under this and what can be used for future development, future capital improvement of some kind to make...
I think at the next meeting, I think it would be helpful for all the members to show the leased parcels currently, to kind of show where those parcels located, what is leased out, and so forth. And then maybe in a subsequent meeting, we can talk about the entire assets of the roadway and what is excess.
Yeah, we've...
Yes?
Sorry.
Go right ahead.
Between now and then, is there any other action item that we are looking? Maybe not action item coming to the board, staff action item that will be releasing something with excess.
I do not believe so at this point.
Is there a need to take action today, or can this all wait to be as a one unit?
No, again, we were just...
I hate puzzles. I hate puzzles. I like all the pieces. I like to see the pieces, and I like to build it together.
Correct.
And I better understand, because then I like to keep the historical perspective on things.
The leasing policy is just formalizing what we currently do today in practice, and we wanted to make sure we had a policy in place to communicate to the public that when we lease parcels out, we go through a procurement process. It's not like somebody comes to us and says, I want to lease your parcel and I'm going to lease it for this amount. We do it in a very transparent and competitive process. So that's why the policy was put in place.
Madam Chair, if you...
I am fully comfortable.
So do you want to defer, or are you good for, do you want to wait for the information?
I'm not deferring.
Okay. So then are you moving the item then?
I'm not moving.
Does anyone wish to move the item? Mr. Vasquez is moving the item. Does anyone else? Seconded by Mr. Pago. We've had discussion. Does anyone other than Chair Gutierrez have any questions? Hearing no questions, discussion is closed. Anyone in opposition to the item? Hearing no opposition to the item passed unanimously. Informational items, subsection 5, I believe they're all in our packets. Is that correct, Mr. Director?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I did add one additional item into the packet on the non-toll revenue. There is a memo in the back of the packet that talks about the progress that's been made by our vendor, All Vision, and where they stand. It breaks it down by, hold on a second so I can walk you through it. It's in the I just was reading it right now. It breaks down the activities that have taken place between the vendor and MDX, and it also has a discussion on the legislative actions that they have considered. There's nothing concrete yet. When there's something concrete, they'll bring it to us.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Executive Director, as far as timelines, we have a 18-month contract with them that says that within this 18-month they're supposed to conclude or conclude. In other words, finish what they're doing or conclude our relationship. What percentage of progress have we reached? Where are we? Because this, again, time is money factor. We made a very unique decision to support this item, but with the understanding that it was going to generate significant revenue. So if you can kind of shed some light. I'm in a hurry to get out of here too, so don't misunderstand me, but this is an important item.
I would say that as far as time, I think we've got how much time left from the time we refresh me? I think there's less than a year left on the agreement for them to bring something, and I would say that as far as true progress, they're at about a 30%.
Okay. I just want to make sure, Mr. Chairman, through the chair, I just want to make sure that is this something that needs to be considered in in our budget workshop? Were we counting on this money? How does this impact our budget? How does that's a factor? And follow-up question is, we do have another vendor. We only have two vendors that in essence are there to generate revenue. If you can address that, please.
Neither of the two vendors is considered in our budget. From our perspective, it's non-recurring, and until it doesn't become recurring, we won't recognize it in our revenue, in our budget. So as of now, our budget is built not assuming any of this happens.
Any other questions? Yes, go ahead, Chair Gutierrez.
A follow-up to the Treasurer's comments on this item. Wouldn't this item actually also go to intergovernment? Yes?
It could, yes. It was intended to come here, but we can go to intergovernmental, we can go to public communication. I think it is a public communication issue too, and ultimately it'll go to budget and finance.
I think at some point within the next 2 or 3 months at the latest, this really should come before intergovernmental. And a full explanation, not just receive a memo with an updated full explanation of where is it that, what are the expectations? Because I am pretty sure that when they set out to do this, they were taking a big bite out of the apple. And now that they've shaken the tree, perhaps no apples are falling. Okay, something else is falling perhaps, but I think we need to get a better grasp of what's going on here to know and determine where we want to go. I'm not saying anything negative on the contract. What I would like to know is better understand what's really happening and how else and what else we can do to proceed.
We will invite them to the next meeting to give us a status report.
Excellent.
Mr. Chair, that's exactly what I was going to request. I'd rather hear from them and kind of, at the end of the day, this is about how they're moving forward to help generate us revenue. That's really what this item is about. So I'm anxious to know when, where we, and if particularly, what can we do to help this expedite that and move it forward to help move the ball forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments? Move to adjourn? Move. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your patience today. I greatly appreciate it. We had a very full palette and we got through everything. Thank you.